places to go, all right? Right, Mo?
Exactly. Right. So please come to order for the October 8th, 2019 Ascension Parish Finance Committee meeting. Please stand for the opening prayer to be followed by the pledge. The prayer tonight will be led by Councilman Randy Cluott.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for this break in this weather. We ask that you continue to take us through the end of the hurricane season safely. We ask that you continue to put your hand on our shoulder and let us deliberate, do the people's business with respect to each other and those that come before us. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
He's going to come up and talk.
Yeah.
Okay, roll call tonight. I see Mr. Lawler is here, Mr. Turner is not here.
Yes, he is.
When did he come in?
Two lawyers came in together.
Uh-oh, they're conspiring.
They were deliberating.
Mr. Todd Lambert and Mr. Benny Johnson. Okay, chair additions tonight. If you'd like to make a comment on any agenda item, please come up to the podium, pick up a red or green card, return it to the dais. General business, item number 5, Gonzales Soccer Association report, and we have Mr. Bobby Capewell to present tonight. Welcome.
Good evening, councilmen and councilwomen. Right, I'll try not to take too long. I can't promise anything though. So the first part of this review just goes over what we have done within the last 24 months over at the sports field. So in 2017, in October, we had our grand opening of the fields for what was then Gonzales Soccer Club. In November, we held our first tournament, which was a statewide tournament called the Louisiana Recreation Cup, sponsored by Target. We had 60 recreational teams travel in from all over the state of Louisiana for that event. In December, we helped Ascension Christian Lions host their 5th annual soccer tournament, which is a 2-day tournament for all high schools in Louisiana. In 2018, we held our inaugural Jambalaya Cup, and that was in the month of March. 70 teams from Louisiana and some from Mississippi came in. In September, we held our inaugural Balloon Cup. 60 teams from Louisiana and once again some from Mississippi. In October, November, the San Amon boys, Dutchtown girls, and East Ascension boys soccer teams used the fields for training sessions during a period where their own high school was still in football season. And then in the fall, and then just like in 2017, we assisted the Ascension Christian Lions in their 6th annual soccer tournament. Moving into 2019, much of the same again. However, this time much bigger and much better, thankfully. We hosted our 2nd Jambalaya Cup. More teams, we had 70 teams this time from all over Louisiana and some from Mississippi. We also hosted 2 further larger Louisiana State Soccer Association events. The Louisiana President's Cup, held in mid-May, brought in 40 teams from outside Ascension Parish. The Louisiana State Cup Championship, also in May, hosted 40 teams from outside Ascension Parish also. I'm going to have to say the biggest accomplishment was in the month of June, when Baton Rouge were not able to fulfill their quota of adequate soccer fields, and with less than 36 hours notice, we jumped in. We said yes, and because we're always maintaining things out there, trying to make it look good as possible, we were able to deliver for the U.S. Youth Soccer Region 3 Regional Championships. I can't begin to describe how that has probably never happened before for such a small soccer club of ours in Ascension Parish. Usually they try and go to soccer fields where there's 25, 30 fields. So for that to be brought to Ascension Parish, for us to be able to do that, with less than 36 hours notice. Credit is due there. September 2nd, we hosted our second Balloon Cup. This was our tournament where we hosted the most teams. We had almost 90 teams at this tournament. The fields are at full capacity. Great weekend for all. Still to come in 2019, as we did last year and the year previous, in October and November, we'll be hosting any of the high school soccer teams who would like to use the fields during that time. We'll be hosting another annual Christian Lions soccer tournament, and hopefully we'll be working with other high schools to create possible and further opportunities for more grand high school tournaments. And then 2020 is going to be much of the same. We'll be hosting our third annual Jambalaya Cup and annual Balloon Cup, and we'll also be hosting the Louisiana Soccer Association tournaments. The second part of this, I would just like to go through some of the expectations that were held upon what was Gonzales Soccer Club, now to be Ascension Flight Soccer Club. We told you all that we would uphold and maintain the integrity of the playing surface. To do so, we had to make huge investments, but huge investments that we wanted to make. We invested in the fiscal year of 2017-18. We invested a total of $115,000. $50,000 of that was on new goals and state-of-the-art goal weights to keep our players safe. $30,000 of that went on to field cutting. $40,000 of that went on to field fertilization, and we spent $48,000 on a new John Deere lawnmower. With the grass that was supplied, that we have out there at the soccer fields, there are only two types of lawnmowers that can cut that grass and actually maintain it. One of them is a rotary model, the other is a cylindrical model, and we decided to go with the rotary. A normal bog standard lawnmower won't unfortunately be able to do it. In the year of 2018-2019, we invested almost $80,000 into the playing surface, $36,000 plus on field fertilization, and a further $25,000 on field cutting. We were also expected to work with whoever came forward to us so that we can make sure that everybody within the parish gets to use the fields for what they need. We have held up to that on every front. Club members, we said that we would maintain our membership. In the years 2017-18, we were hovering around 1450. 2018-19, the same again, hovering around 1450. And then moving forward into this year, 2019-20, we're currently hovering around 1300. But we get more registrations in the spring, so hopefully we'll reach our 1500 goal. I'd just like to mention very quickly, Michelle and BJ over at the Ascension Parish Recreation Department have been fantastic. They've been nothing but responsive and professional in everything that we've asked when we've asked. When we had plug socket issues, broken water lines, broken manholes, issues with our water pumps so the fields weren't getting any irrigation, they were always there. One phone call and they were always helping us out, trying to fix the situation. Our working relationship with Kyle Jazz and the rest of the working crew at Lamar Dixon has been nothing but supportive. Any late night issues I've been able to call, they've always been there. I can't say enough about everybody over at Lamar Dixon. They're always helping us out. And lastly, a gentleman who's in attendance this evening, Mr. Dean Thomason. He's been nothing but helpful with any electrical issues that we've had as well. He's been great to work with. Bottom line is, everyone in the parish that we've called upon, they've always helped. Every single one of them. Couple of working orders which we're trying to implement at the fields right now. We currently are working on building large nets around the field and bringing them in so that balls don't go from one field to the other and kids don't have to venture into the long grass or into the ditches. This will also help with the fields being multi-use. We've added a guttering system to the main pavilion at the complex to prevent the pavilion area from turning into a quagmire. We're currently looking into further permanent bathroom facilities at the field to provide Ascension Parish soccer members and incoming visitors a better experience. And lastly, our mission is to provide soccer to the youth of Ascension Parish, and we don't just want to stop there at the Cajun Industries Soccer Complex. We want to go further, looking into synthetic turf fields and other areas of operations. So with that being said, any questions?
Mr. Cagnolati.
Thank you for a good report. Just curious, how many weekends are there activities at the soccer fields? Roughly?
Anywhere between 30 to 35, 36, depending. It really depends. Sometimes we're told by people who we fall under that, hey, you've got to start on this date and you're going to end by this date. So I know over the last couple of years things have been starting earlier and finishing later. So yeah, around 30, 35, 36.
And I'm curious, in your report, you said 70 teams, 40 teams, 70 teams. That should be attracting a lot of folks. I wonder what the economic impact to the area, if we could even measure that.
Yeah, the simplest way to measure it is heads in beds. Unfortunately, fortunately for Ascension Parish, the impact goes wider than just heads in beds. But unfortunately, we aren't able to truly put a metric on that and find it out. But I'm sure that the impact is huge.
I agree. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cluett.
Yeah, real quick, good report. I heard something when you first started speaking. Are y'all still Gonzales Soccer Club?
So formerly
So-
Gonzales Soccer Club, and then in the July of this year, we officially announced our name change to Ascension Flight. As per the cooperative endeavour agreement, we said that we would become more inclusive to the parish, and that is why we changed our name to Ascension Flight.
Good deal. Do we need any contractual
Yeah. O'Neill.
changes based on that?
They changed their name. Do we need to do anything?
It's still the same organization, no.
Okay.
So y'all a charter organization, y'all under Gonzales Soccer Club?
I know that with being
Or just did
supplied,
So the
sorry?
name of your team changed? I mean, I'm trying to figure it out.
Club.
It's just now known as Ascension Soccer Club,
Yeah.
Okay.
so I don't know the legal obligations.
It's the same entity.
I know that to fall under the bracket of a non-profit, we had to go through the Secretary of State and change our name officially through that, which we have done. If there's anything that we have to change legally with the parish of Ascension,
Well, I'm just pushing that forward and
Yeah.
to the administration.
just let us know and
Yeah.
we'd be more than happy to get onto it.
All right.
Then you have anything?
No, that's it.
Anybody else? Mr. Satterley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your report, sir. I'm curious, the part of the contract that talks about the advertisement revenues as they are defined, could you share with us what kind of advertising revenues were realized by the, shall we call it Gonzales Soccer Club or Ascension Flight Soccer Club? And since inception to now, and if you want, anticipated to the end of the year?
So as far as the soccer goes, that is what we specialize in. We don't specialize in marketing or sponsorship. As per the agreement, we can only bring in sponsors for the club.
Right, but I'm not asking you about what's in your charter or what is in our CEA with you. I'm asking you, what did you realize? This is a financial committee, I'm curious. You didn't make any comments financially about that.
No, sir, we just focus on the soccer side of things.
You have no idea how much advertising revenues the Gonzales Soccer Club took in last year?
No, but I can find out for you and get an answer for you.
I guess, Doc, talking about a financial report, huh?
Well, that's what I thought we were kind of getting tonight, but I guess it's not.
Me too, because everything that you talked about, I don't have it in front of me. So
All that's in our
all right.
packet, sir, for your benefit, 'cause I know you don't have access to that per se right at this moment, is the original contractual agreement with the parish when you were, and still are, I guess, under charter, however you want to look at this Gonzales Soccer Club. And it talks about who gets what and who's responsible for what, and like concessions are for the parish, but advertisement revenues says defined in here by field sponsorship, tournament sponsorship, concession sponsorship, other sponsorships, et cetera. And actually, interestingly enough, it doesn't even, unless I missed it, say who gets those revenues, but I'm curious what they were, period.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to get them for you.
So maybe do we have, anybody from finance that could shed some light on that? No?
And Mr. Chairman, a follow-up, is someone going to speak tonight, or? A follow-up question would be on the part F of the contract. It talks about the parties recognize and acknowledge that the commencement of the construction of the fields, soccer facilities, GSC had procured an in-kind donation of Cajun Industries, an estimated value of $650,000, making an agreement with Cajun regarding naming of the facilities to potentially Cajun Fields and so forth, blah, blah, blah. So was that $650,000 realized?
Once again, I could not give you an answer for that right now, but I can find that out for you.
I think that was
That was
in
the-
kind.
That was the preparation work.
That was in kind dirt work, and
Yeah.
they just
Mark
contributed.
Forsyth, I'm the competitive commissioner of the club. If I recall, that money were used to do the initial construction at the site.
That's correct. That's
I'm
correct.
not positive about that, but that's my recollection of it.
That's correct.
I
that's
understand
correct.
what in-kind means, and, but we can say an in-kind donation is worth this amount, that amount, whatever. I guess I'm asking, the work was done, and you believe it was of a value of $650,000?
We're not construction managers, I would assume. I know they did a lot of dirt work out there at that time, and I would assume it'd be worth more than 600,000, but that was their estimation.
How about under the Part G signage and so forth? Do you have any earthly idea about sponsors and who they are and what they've paid for signs or anything like that?
No, once again, we were never the organization that committed to bringing in that signage. We just focused on the soccer side of things.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes. Great report. I like the numbers. You gave 17 year, 2017 you had 1450, 2018 you had 1450, 2018 you had 13, and 2019 you expected to be about 1,500, correct?
Yeah, we get some late spring registrations that come.
That's all on the east side, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Yeah. I recall y'all sitting right in front, right where you're at right now,
Yes, sir.
and say you was gonna reach out to the West Bank, and you was gonna educate the kids over there. You was gonna bring camps in over there.
Yes, sir.
How many times you been over to the West Bank?
We haven't as of yet, sir.
2 years, and you haven't reached out one time?
That is correct, sir.
So this is a parish program, correct? And you didn't have time to even come over there one time and look at a little kid to see if he can play soccer? Not one time?
It is something that we are looking into doing.
You're looking into it.
Yes, sir.
Well, that soccer field costs over about, what, $5 million? And I know when I asked for that, I wanted to get more educated on the finance and where the money going and everything. I would pretty much say that was too much information to ask from y'all. But I'm just asking a simple question tonight. You didn't have one time, not, in 24 months, didn't make it across the river one time to see if I had a talented kid over there to play soccer.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for our public tax dollars money. That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Sadler?
Yeah, I have a follow-up question.
Yes,
I
sir.
forgot to ask you. So, are you aware of the cooperative endeavor agreement between the parish and Gonzales Soccer Club? In fairly good
I
detail?
know of it.
So you are required by that report to come here and make a report to the council?
Yes,
Or,
sir.
in this case, the finance committee, which is essentially all members of the 11 districts. Do you feel an obligation to present financial information to us, being that this is a financial committee?
Do we as a
Based on
soccer
the contractual
association?
arrangement we have with you.
Absolutely.
So, but you don't have that tonight? Just want to be sure. So you plan to come back and give us that information, or?
I'll be more than happy to bring that information.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that occur, sir.
Yes. So I've got a list I'm working on right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Lawler?
I just want to be clear, though, the Recreation Department gets 80% of the revenue. Is that correct? Or as far as you know? per the contract, for any signage, the recreation department gets 80% of the revenue.
As far as I know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they can also come in and let us know how much they're getting. I know that's something that they'd probably, since they're getting 80%, they have 80% of the duty to come let us know on that.
Okay, so I'd like to request, if you would, Mr. Capewell,
Yes, sir.
to come back and look at the cooperative endeavor agreement. And there's Article 1, which in that talks about the financial responsibility of the association. So it's $5 per player annually, plus 80% of all advertising revenue. So if you'll come back and just give us the figures on that.
Absolutely.
Come back a month from now. And at the same time, also bring with you how you guys plan to address this West Bank initiative.
Absolutely.
So how are you going to improve that, which I understand that you would like to. Anything else committee members would like to add to that? And would ask you to come back, or some representative from you guys to come back next month.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time, Councilman and Councilwoman. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
I would, Mr. Parrington, would like to just verify, since they're changing their name legally to Ascension, is it Flight or Flights?
Flight. F-L-I-G-H-T.
Like soccer club.
Yeah, Flight, okay. So you have legally changed your name, is that correct?
I don't know whether the term is legally. I know from being
But
a
you've got-
non-profit organization.
You
we've had
have
to-
a 501c3 charter, is that
Correct,
correct?
yes.
So what is that listed as on that charter?
When you file your income tax.
They changed it.
Yeah,
You
we changed
changed
that
it.
through the
Okay,
Secretary
so-
of State.
Just request that Mr. Parrington make sure that there's nothing they need to do to modify the CEA or to, do anything relative to that. Okay, Mr. Cluart has one more question.
Yes,
Real
is
quick.
Matt Pryor still your legal representation?
He's on the board. I don't know if he's our
listed on the
official.
agenda here.
Sorry?
That's why. He's listed on the agenda
Yeah.
for tonight. Matt
Yeah,
Pryor.
I'm not sure about that. I know he's as a part of the executive committee. Whether he was our primarily legal advisor, I couldn't answer that
Okay,
question.
I just didn't, I want to know if he's still involved or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal.
Got one more.
Yes, sir.
He can answer all.
Should have
those
walked
questions.
away from Mr. Turner.
And just looking at the agreement, but first of all, good job y'all doing out there. I like the work they're doing with the fields. But as far as the agreement says they're only supposed to come semi-annual, so I'm assuming that's what, every 6 months and not monthly?
Well, I was looking for that. Where is that at,
Much.
Travis?
It's on section 1, agreement. It says semi-annual, so I'm assuming that's twice a year.
Right.
So every 6 months, so they're not
Could
required
be
to
every
carry.
2 years or twice a year.
Yeah, so they're not
It would be
required. Yeah.
semi, not by,
Yeah, so I don't think they're required to come
Oh,
every
I
month
see it.
or every quarter.
section 1.
Oh, semi-annual report. Yeah, I think we need to, we'll talk about that, how often we'd like for you guys to come in, but at least once a year. Unless you have a recommendation, Mr. Turner.
Oh, well, I had a lot of recommendation when they first came up and nobody had nothing to say, so nothing else to say about it now. You can leave it like it
Okay.
is.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman? Thank you.
Have a
Oh,
good
I'm
evening.
sorry. We got
Yeah,
one.
Mr. Cluart asked you, sir, that Matt Pryor is listed in our packets as the person to speak tonight. Can you tell this committee why Mr. Pryor did not deliver this report tonight?
I was never aware that Matt Pryor was to be the one who's delivered it. I'm the face of the club, so when it comes to these sorts of meetings, I'm the one who delivers them.
So, someone in this parish contacted you and told you to come here tonight and give this report? You personally, not Mr. Pryor?
Yes, sir.
And who might that have been?
That would be the club president.
No, I'm talking about on the parish side of the CA.
Oh,
How did you know to be here
nobody.
tonight?
Sorry, I misheard you. Nobody on the parish side has asked for me to.
Did Mr. Pryor tell you to come here?
No,
So, how did you know to come here?
because the club president,
Club
Jared
president
Moss,
told
told
So
me.
the club president said you owe us a report. Is that,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Okay, Mr. Capewell, will you hurry up and sit down? I thank you.
I would if I were you.
Or go to practice.
Thank you, though, for coming.
Hey, you guys have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6, job qualifications for ratified personnel, and we have Ms. Christelle Slaughter.
Thank you, Councilman. Good evening, members of the council. I'm Christelle Slaughter. I'm here with my associate, Cody Saucier, who is passing out copies of the slides. Not sure if they're going to appear on the screen or not, but let me tell you a little bit of background about what we're here to address this evening. As part of the project that you approved about a year ago, helping the Human Resources Department to update all job descriptions and create a performance management system, we did review and revise all job descriptions for Ascension Parish, having to create some and change some. And this included job descriptions for directors and leadership. We're really here tonight to talk about our positions that require ratification and minimum qualifications that we are recommending that would go along with those positions. We use a standard methodology to do this, and the directors were part of that, gathering information on job analysis questionnaires. And they were given an opportunity to review not only their, but all of the job descriptions in their particular departments. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cody Saucier. There's a little more background information in there, but I want Cody to go ahead and start walking you through some of those qualifications.
Good evening, council members. So following our initial formulation and review of all the job descriptions for the parish, it became apparent to us that there are some opportunities to be more specific in the minimum qualifications, especially for the leadership and director positions, which are going to be necessary to be ratified by this body. So whenever you're reviewing those applications or any new directors that come before you, you can have minimum qualifications that are specific and reviewable. So we also added additional competencies for all directors and leaderships, which is focused on the ability to use technology and to communicate in a public forum, to be able to present to you and to the public at large various reports and things of that nature. Additionally, as the parish is currently implementing a large-scale ERP system, it's going to be important for any new hires or any new directors or leaderships to be able to comfortably use those systems and to have some kind of technological capability for those systems that are going to be in place. Due to the nature and size of Ascension Parish government, these recommended minimum qualifications detailed in each job description are necessary to provide the services that you would expect of an organization of your size, not just a government, but any organization of this size and scale. You want to make sure that you're hiring qualified individuals. As these new recommended qualifications and descriptions were created after hiring all of the current directors.
Cody, can I interrupt you for a
Yeah,
minute?
absolutely.
Do you have this in a PowerPoint, or?
I do have an electronic version. We walked in right as the meeting had started. You want me to?
Well, if you could, maybe if you could just put one on the, whatever you call that thing there.
Overhead.
I can do.
I didn't want to age myself with that.
Oh, just right here?
But
Okay,
it
cool.
is still
Still overhead,
Still
okay.
overhead.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
John is going to press a button back there and it's going to magically appear.
No.
No.
Come out.
John, go
John,
back.
John,
John
John
appeared.
is magically appeared.
This is the part about using technology.
You didn't have to push it, it was already on, you turned it on. That's all right, that's okay. That'll pop up once I press that button, it was on.
That magic button.
Now he's gonna press the button.
There we go. Just
You
gotta.
have to adjust it.
Okay. All right, I'll try to keep track of that so we can stay on track. As I was saying, these new qualifications, minimum qualifications and job descriptions were crafted and created after all of the current directors and leadership were hired in the parish. So we don't recommend that the current crop is subjected to these new minimum qualifications. This is looking towards the future and any new hires that would potentially come before this body or that the parish would consider hiring in the future. Okay. So for all of the director and leadership positions, we added the following language specifically to include those two items that I just spoke about. Computer literacy skills, including Office, spreadsheet, and presentation software required. And director must have strong oral and written communication skills and the ability to make presentations in a public forum. So that way we can cover that on all of the positions, which is included in the competencies. Now we're going to move into the specific education and experiences required for all of the ratified positions, the ones that would come up for council review. For CFO and treasurer, position requires a bachelor's degree in a finance-related field from an accredited 4-year college or university. A master's degree and/or CPA is preferred. Minimum of 5 years experience in accounting or auditing, managerial and/or administrative experience in fiscal matters per the Home Rule Charter. That's the last sentence is included in the Home Rule Charter as a qualification for that specific position. For the Chief Administrative Officer or CAO, position requires a bachelor's degree from an accredited 4-year college or university in business administration, public administration, or equivalent field, and a minimum of 10 years experience in a related field. For the Director of Human Resources or Personnel Director, the position requires a bachelor's degree in human resources or a related field from a 4-year college or university with a minimum of 5 years of experience in human resources administration, with at least 3 years in supervision. A master's degree in HR, administration, or public administration is preferred. Infrastructure Division Director requires a bachelor's degree in civil engineering and must have at least 10 years related executive experience. For the Director of Planning and Development, the position requires a suitable bachelor's degree with a major focus in architecture, land development, transportation, design, community and commercial development, zoning, land use planning, applied economics, policy analysis, applicable law and regulations, and/or managerial duties from a 4-year college or university, the minimum of 5 years of experience required. For Director of Public Works, the position requires 10 years of related experience, including 5 years in the supervisory role, a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, construction management, or equivalent, with a minimum of 5 years related experience is preferred. Okay. For the Director of Purchasing, the position requires a bachelor's degree in accounting, business administration, or related field from a 4-year college or university with coursework or specialization in supply chain management preferred. A minimum of 5 years related experience is required. For Lamar Dixon, General Manager, the position requires a bachelor's degree in business, public administration, marketing, hotel management, or related field, preferably from a 4-year accredited college or university. A master's in public administration or business administration is preferred. A minimum of 8 years progressively responsible experience in supervision or management of the facility of a similar size and description is required. The Director of Utilities has yet to be determined. That position is still open and in flux as to what the total responsibilities for that position are going to entail. Therefore, until those things are finally hammered out, we don't have final education and experience requirements for that position. And then for the Parish Council Secretary, position requires an associate's degree in business administration or a related field from a 2-year college or university. The minimum of 5 years of administrative specialist or administrative assistant experience required. All right. with a new incoming administration, it's important for this body and the parish government and the new administration to finalize an agreement on the minimum qualifications for director and leadership positions. As you guys know, you'll be asked to ratify these positions as they come before you, as new people are hired into those positions, so it's important you know what you're looking at. These are recommended and standardized minimum qualifications. They should help Ascension Parish know they're hiring qualified individuals with that can handle all the duties and responsibilities outlined for these positions. Okay?
Questions or comments for Cody? Mr. Kluat.
Yeah, Cody, thank you. As we reviewed each position, where was your basis for the qualifications on these positions?
Really,
Did
when
you
you
plagiarize, you looked at some other agencies, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do a lot of compensation and benefit studies in our firm, and we have access to a large body of databases with various position descriptions, summary reports, which all have minimum qualifications attached to them, typically education and experience specifically. It's all about the scale and scope, right? So whenever you're looking at a chief administrative officer or, any other director position, the scale and scope of that position is going to dictate where you're looking at the minimum qualifications being set. So.
You basically used y'all looked at governmental agencies, parishes per se, or counties, and their hierarchy and
We
the
did, Councilman
qualifications?
Kluwat. Yes, we have access, and as Cody mentioned, in some of the compensation studies, every place from East Baton Rouge Parish to New Orleans and a lot of smaller and larger political subdivisions. So we did look at quite a few. And we are seeing a trend to be more specific and to try and match minimum qualifications for people who are handling expensive equipment or budgets or staff over a certain size. They almost mirror industry in some cases. So yes, we did look at government agencies, sure did.
Yes, and I noticed in your summary, you basically like to hurriedly, that we, in your words, is that we've got a new administration coming in January, win,
Right.
lose, or draw.
Right. That's right.
And you think we should put all this into effect as you wrote it?
Or certainly consider it carefully. We are not recommending that it go into a charter change. It would simply be adopted just as you adopt the job titles, and that provides a platform.
Early on in conversation, as your presentation, Cody, you'd said about the folks that are embedded now, that you're not the same standard, so you're not looking to
That's
run
correct.
anybody out.
Right. They're all assumed to be.
We get the parish president in January, okay? So if he wants to ratify a standing position that's here, where does that leave them based on if this is passed?
I think that's a wonderful question. I'm not sure what the process would be.
Well, we talked about that being grandfathered. Anybody that's in a current position is
they said-
grandfathered in.
Wasn't that in our presentation?
No.
Yeah.
That's someone currently right now.
Yeah, she had it in
But
here.
going forward,
I'm posing the question in a
the new
different way.
president comes in.
Yes, I got the floor. Yes, ma'am, you did pose it in this, but I'm just posing that question that you're saying, as you summarized, as new administration's coming in, he will be wanting to appoint directors and key positions, appointed positions, and he'll bring them in front of this board, this council to ratify. So the grandfathered in, you're saying that it's your suggestion that if it's a person that already has a key position, if they come under the new parish president, and he brings them to ratify, that they don't have to meet these.
I'm not sure that is exactly what we meant by that statement.
Well, I'm
Someone who
just-
is
I'll throw
currently
the scenario
serving,
at you.
you're
That if
not
this is-
changing the rules right now. These people have already been ratified, and they're in their position, soon to be
They
competent.
need to be re-ratified next year.
You will have to re-ratify them. That's right.
And-
That will be your choice. If you adopt different minimum qualifications and someone has been in a position, then you would have to say, then we're either going to waive that or we're going to change that. And you would have the right to do that.
So I was going to add that to the recommendation, that we grandfather in anybody that's in the position. When we move,
That would
this
solve
has
that
to go and
problem.
turn into an ordinance, and we build that in.
All right, so the question isn't totally answered, but I would just want to throw the scenario
Grandfathered
out
in a
to you.
broad sense, as you were saying, yes. From what Councilman Dawson
You
is
may
saying.
have a little bit different council here come January also, you definitely will, because I won't be here, but anyway. So you won't have these questions asked. But, so, the people that have key positions right now that don't meet these minimum qualifications and may have 20 years in with the company, with the parish, we're depending on the council to have leniency to not require the new parish president to kick them out and get somebody else.
Because the assumption is that they perform well in the role without this. But if someone new is brought to the table, then they're unproven, so to
Yes.
speak, right? So they would be
I just don't
asked.
want to see this being used as a crutch or a hatchet, either way.
Well
Okay.
said. Well said.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Satterley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Christelle and Cody. Excellent report. On the slide of education and experience, it states, under the topic of, quote, computer literacy skills, that all these different positions, directors, managers, what have you here, you're recommending that the sentences of computer literacy skills should include office, note the capital O on office, spreadsheet, and presentation software. For the sake of consistency, and the key word at the end of the sentence I left out is required, you don't recommend that they definitely have Excel, capital E, or PowerPoint, capital Ps. There's no intention to exclude Mac users here, and if not, wouldn't it be better to say including instead of Office, word processing?
That could certainly be a more inclusive.
Did I
term.
see a thumbs up, Cody?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah,
Okay.
he likes that.
I mean, I'd hate, Mr. Jobs is no longer with us, but I'm a Mac user myself. I'd hate to see us exclude someone that has wizardry, and we have quite a few, by the way, in our employ. I know one that recently set up a smartphone for me, who's a Mac user himself and prefers it, but, has to do what the mainstream is. But I don't like Office. I would prefer word processor in there to not only be consistent with the other two, spreadsheet and presentation, which doesn't require necessarily a Microsoft Office product such as Excel and PowerPoint.
That's
Just a thought.
more consistent. Good point. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Johnson.
So one question I have, I don't know who might answer this, but, so we've got the purchasing director in here. Purchasing director is currently not a ratified position. So are we suggesting that we're going to make that a ratified position?
No.
Is
We're
it
just
not
gonna-
ratified?
My intention, Christelle, when you and I talked, was to limit this to the ratified
Just the
folks.
ratified positions, correct.
For tonight, for now.
We
At
took
some
some
point,
out.
we
We
may
must have
work
missed
on
that one.
qualifications
Councilman Johnson.
otherwise, but
So for
So
my
strike that out. Is that,
So for my clarification with this, this was referred to personnel, all this stuff last year, so why is it back in this committee? And not being sent to personnel, work through that committee?
well, this is where the SSA things originated, in the Finance Committee.
Yes, sir, but they were sent to personnel because personnel dealing with
So
personnel
you
issues,
can make a
that's
motion
what
to
this
send
is.
it to personnel.
Well, I'll make that motion.
Motion to send this to personnel.
Second.
Second by Councilman Joseph. Discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to send this back to personnel, just because I don't want to see the delay. I mean, we've already delayed it for a year. Something I think is very important is to have people that are experienced, that are qualified for the positions that we're expecting them to hold. Same goes for parish president. I want somebody that's qualified for it. I want somebody that's qualified for these positions. I'm afraid that a delay tactic is just to send this to personnel, and it's going to get delayed and delayed. I think we need to move forward on this because a lot of work has gone into this. We deserve to have the best people. I'm a firm believer that we have good employees in the parish and that good employees deserve good directors and good management to help them and give them direction. And it can only benefit them to have people that are qualified. So I'd prefer this not go to personnel because it's just another delay. And I just don't believe that we need to continually delay this.
Further discussion, Mr. Satterley.
Yeah, I'm rising support of what Councilman Lawler says. I'm not interested in overly delaying this process, but I'd add to that, to amplify it, and this is not a slam to the Personnel Committee in any way, but we need to get the best expertise, and after all, we're paying you guys a good bit of money for this, and I hope we realized in doing that we recognized you were expert in that. And correct me if I'm wrong, Cody or Christelle, tonight you testified in answering questions to other councilmen about what did you look at as a base, and I recorded various big businesses, parishes, that have done, compensation studies and so forth, as well as you specifically mentioned East Baton Rouge and New Orleans, Louisiana. So I would like, if we come back and reinvent the wheel, it looks greatly different from what you recommended. I'm curious, why did we pay you as the experts to do this to begin with? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Clua.
Yeah, just as a neutral partner, not on the Personnel Committee, I don't necessarily see that the request for it to go to personnel is a delay tactic. I agree that it may delay what you're trying to do tonight. Just want to make that clear. And I got a question for you, Christelle and Cody. You'd mentioned New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Yeah, I think your statement was you had access to. So you did the study, you did this for Baton Rouge, and you did it for New Orleans?
Yes, we did.
Okay, I'll clear that up.
Yes.
All right,
I'll just say yes.
thank you.
Further discussion. Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, to echo what Randy said, it's not a delay tactic. I don't think the delay or anything was done by the Personnel Committee. As far as I know, none of this was brought back to personnel. It was sent from personnel back to get the clarifications and the stuff that's being presented here tonight. And so, as far as what the changes are, so forth, it has nothing to do with delaying. It's about sending it through the appropriate committee where it was sent to. That's all that's about, in my opinion.
Ms. Castle.
Mr. Dawson, I have a pretty good recollection of this. The items that were sent to personnel was the management of the personnel handbook, and the other parts of the SSA's recommendations were ongoing. And so whenever Christelle let me know that they were ready for, as the council chairman, when she let me know that they were ready for for presentation, I believed that it was most appropriate, since this body would ultimately have to rehear them at the same time, that especially since time was of the essence for us, that it come back to the Committee of Origin for SSA's recommendations, where they have made all their previous reports. And so I ask you to put this on your agenda. So, I spoke with Mr. Cagnolati, and I asked him to allow me to do that, because I did not want to, certainly to offend him. And it is I don't believe it's a delay tactic at all. I think that it was just, it makes sense perhaps to go back there, but I prefer, because of the timely nature of this work and the fact that it has to come to this entire body anyway, and Christelle needs to be able to make this presentation to everyone, that we just come here.
Hey, Mr. Lawler.
Yeah, Benny, I want to apologize. I didn't mean to say that you were a delay tactic. I used bad terminology there. So not what what I should have said. It's going to delay it, and that's what I was trying to avoid. But I don't believe you were trying to delay it unduly.
We got a meeting tomorrow night.
Mr. Lambert.
Mr. Chairman, well, let me take an angle of this. I'm willing to, I want to stop the bleeding. This has been going on long enough. I know there's been quite a few change orders and money here. Let's stay on track here. If we just doing the ratify positions, let's move on. This is costing. So, I'm willing to move on tonight if we can. But this is way overdue, and we need to do something with it.
Mr. Joseph.
Yes, I'm withdraw my second on that motion from Mr. Bentley.
Well, actually,
You really
I
can't.
don't think
Can't
you
do
can
It's
do
out of
that.
order. We're in
I
discussion.
mean, after
first.
we end the discussion, it belongs to the committee, but,
It's on the.
so
table.
we'll have to vote on it, Mr. Joseph.
Correct.
Any further discussion? So, actually, I believe we're gonna do a roll call here.
Councilman Joseph,
No.
Councilman Turner,
No.
Councilman Satterly,
Yes.
Councilman Lambert,
Yes.
What do- Are
Councilwoman.
y'all sure you're
Think
voting
not-
right here?
Not understanding what you're
I
voting
just
I
on.
don't
What
think you understand
Voting
it.
on the motion.
A
to send it
no,
to
a
personnel.
no
I know
is
it-
to vote against the motion to refer it to personnel. A yes is to agree with the motion to send it to personnel. Would anybody like to recast? So far, I'm sorry, Ashley, could you,
I know,
got it.
yeah, I
You
mean,
got it.
Okay.
did give us a recap of where we were. It was,
No,
Oh,
no,
hold
yes.
on.
no.
I just heard,
No,
you
no,
having a
yes.
personnel meeting tomorrow night?
Yes.
Too late
So
to
we
post
got-
on that now.
I
no,
mean, I don't know.
We're,
No, no,
Point of order.
yes,
We're in a
yes.
vote right now. The discussion is ended.
Yeah.
We
Sure,
cannot.
well,
I'm
I mean,
just trying to,
We had a
I'm
chance
trying
to
to,
discuss it it's point of order, Mr. Chairman. It's definitely against.
I'm
Robert's
just
law.
trying to get to repeat the votes so that there's no confusion here.
But
So we're
I'm
left
asking
right
you not
now
allow
with,
further discussion.
with 2 noes and 2 yes, and it's 2,
Councilwoman Casso,
yes.
No.
Councilman Kluart,
Yes.
Councilman
I
Lawler,
don't want to go back to personnel.
No.
But your no vote is for that. You're confused.
I'm confused.
I think so. You just said you don't want to go back to personnel. You
I do
voted
not.
I'm sorry, no.
The-
more
No is the proper
discussion.
vote to keep it away from personnel.
No
Right.
is the proper vote.
Mr. Chairman, could I hear the question?
The question
And then
is,
review
Mr.
the
Johnson made a motion to refer this to personnel. Now, you're voting either in favor or against that. You voted in favor of it.
Well, that wasn't my understanding of the question.
You're going to stretch my parliamentary abilities here.
So let's just,
Let's,
I thought
There's
the
too many
motion
things.
was, that we accept the recommendations of SSA.
no.
Yeah.
Okay, my apologies to the entire body.
I tell you what we're
My
gonna do
vote is
here, we're
not-
gonna put you on hold for this point in time, because we've passed you once, and let's see what the outcome is at the current position, and then I'll have to get some clarification after that.
That would be
That's what you need to do.
Okay?
that would be a vote.
That's parliamentary.
Okay, so let's try again,
So,
Ashley.
Councilman Cagnolati,
No.
and Councilman Dawson.
No.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, John, you got Councilman John.
Sorry. Oh, Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
So give me the tally here.
4 yes, 6 no's.
Okay, so that motion fails, Mr. Sadler, so thank goodness we don't have to make a ruling on that.
Well,
But I'll lodge your,
so the
your-
results of this vote is what, Mr. Chairman?
the results is that it
We'll
will
stay
not be
here tonight.
referred to personnel, that we
So now
will
we're looking for a
consider
motion that
tonight.
we act on it tonight.
Correct.
I'll make that motion
Well,
So we have a motion by Councilman Satterly to accept the recommendations
of SSA.
of Zach, who's,
I still got questions.
I'm going to second that.
well, let's get the seconds, and then we'll get the question and discussion.
got it.
You got a second over
I
here,
got the
Ms.
second.
Casso? Okay. Now, Mr. Cluett, you
Yeah,
have
real
discussion?
quick. Cody Christel, on the council secretary, in your case study, does the council secretary has an associate's degree in business administration?
That's what we're recommending. We don't think
That's not what
that
I'm
position
asking you.
needs
I asked you in your case studies,
they don't all have,
that what I'm
Council
asking you a
secretaries.
question. In
Right.
your case studies, does the council secretary have a degree in business administration?
No, this is an associate,
an associate degree.
I'm sorry,
Right.
go
I got
ahead.
this question.
All right, go ahead.
Someone who is performing the same role would be expected to have not a 4-year degree, but some post-secondary certification, like an associate's degree.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Mr. Lawler.
Pardon me, I just want to be clear, and maybe I have to make a amended I have to amend this or do a substitute motion. But I want to be clear that we are only applying this to ratified positions. Is that what the motion was? And that we are grandfathering in current employees, not just through this year, but through the end of their employment.
I think it'd be appropriate if you wanted to offer that as an amendment.
Okay, I'm going to offer that as an amendment, that these recommendations only apply to the ratified positions, thus eliminating the Director of Purchasing from this listing, and that we grandfather in current employees in their current positions only through,
Through their own, I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm trying to think of the best way to term it, I guess through their termination,
Through their employment.
through their employment,
With the parish.
the parish, yeah, that's fine.
Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Ms. Casso? Okay, so we have an amendment that's been moved and seconded, so we're in discussion. Mr. Cluett.
Yeah, within our salary ranges, predominantly, you're looking at degree positions, predominantly 4-year plus. Within your salaries, do we have salaries that match that?
Yeah, for the most part, as of now. The last time we did the compensation study was in 2016. We haven't reevaluated those salaries since that time.
Yeah, that's 3 years ago, okay? And, so, to go out and get folks, we continue to look at these nationwide searches. I remember one position we searched for, and I think it was HR director.
It was.
That y'all assisted in the search, and we were getting people coming in and hanging up the phone at $200,000, okay?
True.
All right?
That is true.
Okay. Well, the taxpayers of the parish got to eat everything here, and I agree with having competent people in positions, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm just saying that, is this group prepared, and the next parish president, who's going to have the burden of it within the budget to shuck out the dust to fill those degree positions with the experience? Not just a degree. We can go grab the degrees pretty quick. With the experience, the years of experience in the personal fields. There's a lot of degrees have multiple fields they can channel. And you list business administration, which is kind of a path that you can take a lot of paths to try to specialize in and go pick up some extended education. I just want to let everybody know the groundwork we're laying here, and the intention is very good by all these folks up here. I believe that. I'm just putting it out there. Somebody's got to match the salaries of what you wrote down here.
And you'll only be as good as your leadership, just like your current
Right.
leaders. You'll only be as good as your leadership.
We-
And you have some great leaders
don't
right
disagree
now.
with you on that.
So I think you're right. You've got to have that.
Will we have to hire you guys again to go see about them salaries or what? All right.
Ms. Casso?
Well, I certainly believe that this council will do whatever it needs to do to compensate our folks, especially if if our parish president, whoever he might be or she might be at some point in the future, decide that they need a certain person with a certain level of qualifications, that we will find the resources to hire that individual, and we'll have the pay schedule match that need. That we have never been reluctant to do that, and I think we will. I want to remind everybody up here that when we have great leadership, as we do now, and when we have great leadership in the future with qualified individuals, that's going to result in increased productivity and efficiency, which is where we started. That was why we came back here, and that's where we started 2 years ago. I also believe, and I don't say this lightly, but I'm going to say it tonight. I believe that qualified people speak truth to power. And I think they do that because they know they have the kind of skills and qualifications that if they are not listened to and respected, they will leave, and they will go somewhere else and find a job. So it's important, I believe, for a new administration to either surround itself with people who we have already ratified and feel confident in, or to choose people who, to fill those positions who we are willing to ratify because we feel confident and competent. So I'm supporting these qualifications. I'm supporting them tonight. I'm going to support them in council. And I'm really challenging my fellow members of this council to think about the future of this parish, what it will mean today, and what it will certainly mean in January, and more importantly, what it's going to mean 10 years from now or 20 years from now. This is a $150 million plus organization. You would not hire in the private sector to run a $150 million operation, me, to sit on its board of directors. Okay? So I know that you would not hire me to fill any of the positions of these fine folks who sit to my right over here, or in the future to sit there. I'm asking you to consider that there are people who are abundantly qualified, and that we will find them, and we will pay them, and we will have confidence in them, and they will get the job done for us and for our citizens. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Kluot.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'm gonna back this tonight. This might be my last chance to lay that foundation.
Yes,
okay?
sir.
But I expect to be willing, and I've always was an advocate of this, be willing to go out and, if you want professionals, go pay for them. We get accused every day of being part of the good old boys, and you're the good old girls,
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess, you know? And y'all never would let me in your organization, but anyway. So, hey, go get some professionals. Be willing to pay for them. We've run into this in every department based on want to go out and grab some engineering, want to grab qualified people, okay? This council needs to be ready, because 9 out of 10 of y'all are going to be sitting here, to be ready to put up the dollars to help the next parish president make this successful and continue success. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sadler.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, with respect to you, sir, I Googled up, can a board member of a deliberative body change their vote during a vote? Robert's Rules of Order has the following to say, and I quote, "While the vote change rules set forth in Robert's Rules of Order sharply limit when a member may alter his or her vote, even with the unanimous consent of his fellow or her fellow board members, quote, a member has the right to change his or her vote on a motion until the result of the vote has been officially announced by the presiding officer. At the point in time when I asked to change my vote, despite Mr. Kluot's objection and your ruling, we had not had a tally. In other words,
I'm with you, so I deferred.
I'll correct you,
I
sir.
deferred.
Well, I want my vote recorded in the minutes.
Okay, so
I want my
hold on.
vote recorded in the next minutes that it was not 6-4, it was 7-3, because I was abiding by Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay, so I deferred the judgment on that, and I appreciate you looking it up. So if you will, change Mr. Sadler's vote, because he asked to do that during the recording.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, we have an amendment that's up here that's been moved and seconded, and so we're going to vote on the amendment. Are there any objections to the amendment, or do you guys need a refresher on what the amendment is? Mr. Law, do we have an objection? Okay, so we'll have to have a roll call, Ashley.
Councilman Joseph?
Yes.
Do we need a reminder on what that is, the amendment?
No, all you did was just basically say the end of the term of the current president.
Yeah, there you
when
go.
he comes, that's the new administration. So all you had to do is say current administration. At the
Thank
end of
you,
that,
Alvin.
they have the right to the next one. Yes.
Thank you.
Councilman Turner?
Yes.
Councilman Satterly?
I believe, Mr. Chairman, the correct vote this evening for me is yes.
Councilman Lambert?
You got a
Yes.
while to think about it.
Councilwoman Casso?
Yes.
Councilman he's absent. Councilman Kluot?
Yes.
Councilman Lawler?
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolotti?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Which one was it? He voted for me the last time.
We're not looking like a
Yeah,
group
we
of
did.
professionals up here.
It's yes, Councilman Johnson
Yes,
Okay.
For me, yes, for you.
Good qualifications
and
for
Councilman
this.
Dawson.
yes.
Pay attention.
Okay, so that motion passes. That's the amendment. Now we need a motion to adopt the,
So moved.
so I need,
Second.
okay, you have a motion by Councilman Lawler and second by Councilman Satterley, but, you know, I need a clarification on this. Is that going forward, O'Neill, for the drafting of an ordinance? Is that correct?
Yeah, This
Yes.
was, what is it, is this gonna be a separate ordinance or part of the job qualifications?
I would say that we need to send this forward to the administration for inclusion as necessary as an ordinance, and then bring it to the council for introduction.
As part of the qualifications, or, I mean, as part of the description?
Well,
as part-
I'm saying we're not going to make that decision tonight.
Okay.
You can make that decision at your leisure.
Okay.
Question on
I think it
the,
would be out of qualifications, though.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, question on point of order here. I'm trying to remember my Robert's Rules of Order. So we had an amendment that passed. The amendment didn't change the original, it basically took the place of the original, motion, correct? It shouldn't have to have a second vote on this, or am I wrong about that?
We voted on, what we're doing right now is we voted on the
I understand what
amendment.
we're doing. What I'm saying is, I don't think you need this second vote. I think the
You have
amendment-
you have to vote on the amendment, and then you have to vote on the motion as amended
All right.
after that. So with that, that's where we are, and clarification, this is to go to the administration for a drafting of an ordinance, and then to bring it to the council for introduction. Motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this? Do we have any objections? Okay, roll call.
Councilman Joseph,
Yes to move forward.
Councilman Turner,
Yes.
Councilman Satterley,
At the risk of being redundant, yes to move forward.
Councilman Lambert,
Yes.
Councilwoman Casso,
Yes.
Councilman Kluwat,
Yes.
Councilman Lawler,
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
No. We finally got it straight.
Councilman Dawson,
Yes.
There you go, you get your vote.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank goodness. Christelle, thank you very much. Cody, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
A lot
Christelle,
of
for all the
patience there.
time you gave
Appreciate
to
it.
me. I appreciate it.
All right, item number 7, proposed ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code, LDC, Appendix 2, Development Code, Section 17-2043, tall structures in antennas, I don't know what that is, in antennas on existing buildings. Jerome?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is just a cleanup measure for this particular portion of the ordinance. In the past, we were getting requests to inspect antennas that are on existing towers or sometimes located on buildings. And we were collecting $500 per antenna, and then someone came up and challenged us on the ordinance and said, no, it's $500 per inspection, not antenna. So what we wanted to do is just clear this up, and it's $500 per antenna. Each antenna needs special inspections in terms of the electrical performance of it and the connections and everything else, so that's why we wanted to clear this.
So move.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Joseph, second by Councilman Lawler. We have a question by Mr. Kluwat.
Jerome,
Yes, sir.
if you look at how it's written, after the word tall structures, comma, end period, what is the end? End period.
I'm not sure I'm seeing where that is. I'm looking at the
It's on our
Exhibit
agenda.
A
Look
No.
on the
It's on
agenda.
our agenda.
on the
So
agenda.
tell me
Item
that-
number 7.
Tell me that's a typo
Oh,
or
that's,
whatever.
no, that's the section of the code, actually.
Okay,
it's-
so it's,
It should be in 1.
yeah, just,
That's 17-2043 N1.
That's
Yeah.
correct. Yes, sir.
okay.
Yeah, it's just referring to that section of the
Yes.
code.
Oh, that's a section. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And my second question is, how many antennas we got in the parish, man?
We got quite a few.
Well,
You
that's-
know,
that's-
they're
that's the
actually
easy
located on buildings as well as tall structures. And so we're inspecting all of those, all right? Whenever they come in for a permit, we have to do the inspections on those.
Okay.
I can't give you a number.
No, so you're just inspecting antennas, not towers?
That's correct. The towers themselves come under another section of the
Another
code.
code, a structural
And
code.
those tall structures are $2,000 for the inspection of a construction tower. Right, correct.
Because we know if we look at the towers, we got multiple antennas on them.
That's
They
correct.
just
Yes.
Stack them up on there.
That's correct. You will see some of these towers with many, many antennas on them.
Yeah.
Correct.
Good deal.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Jerome. So this is not 5G antennas is soon to come in front of the Utilities Committee?
It could be.
Could be.
It could be, yes, sir.
Could be from the standpoint that if we approve 5G in the parish, then this law would affect it.
That's correct.
Because this is a general law of all antennas,
That's correct. Yes.
regardless of their RF radiation, just all antennas.
Right.
Thank you.
For the questions, discussion, any opposition? Motion's adopted. Item number 8, proposed ordinance to amend Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code, LDC Appendix 12, fees. Mr. Fournier. Fournier. Did I say it
Thank you.
right?
You got it the second time. Thank you. Yeah, these fees are in, to implement the new drainage ordinance that allows for fill. These are fees that we're going to be collecting in terms of the permits that we're going to be issuing for the collection or for the implementation of that program. We're going to be collecting fees for, let's say, a grade 1 level, which is a vacant lot associated with the issuance of building permits. On level 2, we're going to have individual pads with individual commercial or residential lots in the X zone. Remember that we're requiring a permit in the X zones now, so we're going to be collecting $100 for those. And then level 3 is a building pad for individual commercial or industrial lots within any 100-year floodplain with a full mitigation requirement. That one's set at $350 because that particular level 3 analysis is going to require us to review the drainage study that they're going to prepare for that particular level. We touched base with CSRS, our engineering review agency. They gave us a price as to what it would cost to generally take care of that review, and that's how we came up with this number. All right, we actually applied an administrative fee for ourselves to that number, but we came up with $350. So that's where we stand on this. And this is for implementation of the new ordinance that you just passed.
Okay, questions for Mr. Fournier? Mr. Sadler.
Yeah, I just want to be sure, Jerome, so what you're saying is this is not arbitrary, the $2,500 and $350 respectively for levels 1, 2, and 3. It rather is based on what we actually have to pay our engineering review agency plus a little administrative add-on fee?
Well, level 1 and level 2 are for us internally.
Only 3 then has the...
Only 3 has
the
the review
administrative
from
tax on it.
CSRS.
So we
correct.
break even on level 1 and 2?
We do, yes. That's just basically an internal process.
Right.
The $25 is more or less a filing fee, so to speak, because we are going to have to process elevation certificates. We're going to process other forms that we're requiring.
Which would
of
easily
the
withstand judicial review because there's no way it'd be arbitrary if in level 1 and 2 you charge what you actually...
We
your
thought,
cost.
yeah, we.
Thank you.
Sir.
Further questions, discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
Mr. Lambert.
I want to make sure that there will be no notary fees in this. Did we change that?
I talked to Cody Martin, and Cody says that we are going to, there is no notary fee per se, but we are going to require them to have a notary. We, the parish, are going to either pick up the fee, or there's another thing, and I think
Offer the
maybe
service.
O'Neill can help me on this, that there's another process that's less than a notary, and it's something about a signature, if I remember correctly, from Cody.
I never discussed it with Cody. I
Oh, you
don't know
didn't?
what the process is.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't want to put you on the spot there, but.
Well,
So let's see.
Yeah.
Mr. Lambert,
I wanted to make sure.
is there a notary required on this?
We are requiring a notary on the grading fill permit application.
Right. That's every application's gonna be notarized.
I'm sorry, not the
Based on-
application, it's
I mean, every
It's
permit.
the certificate, basically, that
Certificate,
says
that's
that they've
correct.
completed the work according to the application that they
Right.
filed with us. It's not the application that's being notarized, it's the certificate that's saying that they've done the work properly.
So we don't trust that the person that's signing that's the right person? I mean,
Well,
what, is there a
the-
penalty?
The thing of it is that what we're trying to do is create a paper trail for people, and this is at the request of the council,
Right.
that if somebody's putting fill on their lot in 1 year, 2
No, I
years-
mean, I get that. It's a notary thing. I can tell you that's a pain to go find one.
Just sitting next
To
to one.
eliminate.
It's easy.
I can tell you what.
Well, if I can come back to when you take this up, council level, I'll come back and give you the full scoop as to what we're trying to do on that with Cody.
Okay.
Cody can give us that information, all right?
Well,
Because
guys,
it's something less onerous than getting a notary, notarized.
okay. So, Mr. Cluett,
Yeah, real quick, Jerome, on Dempsey's thing, he's referring to the same I am, that basically I'm gonna refer to is that in discussion with the administration and the department heads and the staff and everyone, is that everybody felt up front, just as Mr. Dawson feels that would be a burden on the normal resident.
Right.
That the parish could offer the service somehow,
Correct.
either have one of our notaries, we have several notaries within the parish
Okay.
employment, notarize it as a part of their duty, or have some document that serves as being legal, okay?
I just
And the
looked-
thing is to basically say that if I sign a document and say that I'm, if everybody looks at my application, I say I'm gonna put 150 yards of dirt, then that I did 150 yards of dirt. And that if I sell the land 3 years later, that Joe that I sold it to will come back and get another permit for another 150 yards of dirt. And that you'll have some trail that the address and that piece of land is gonna be the DNA, and the permit will follow the piece of land.
That's
through our
exactly what
ownership.
we're trying to track. Yes.
Yeah. And I just want to make one other clarification, that to the residents that currently own houses, is that basically, just for the public, because they don't have all this paperwork on them, is that we had discussed, and I think that's part of it, is that they could have a certain amount of field to straighten out their yard
Yes.
without non-permitting.
Right, there are exemptions to this entire thing, and I
Right.
think we're limiting it to less than 75 yards of dirt on properties that actually have a structure on them, because they're not gonna be building up
Yes.
a pad. So we're limiting, if
They might already
anything less
got a
than
house.
75 yards of dirt,
Yeah.
they can do whatever they want to do, right?
Right.
And I just found the thing, it's called the Act Under Private Signature.
It still requires a notary to notarize the person who witnessed it.
Yeah.
Right.
That requires a notary.
Okay.
That's not,
we're gonna come back. You're gonna come back
We'll
with
come
some
back with some
alternatives.
clarification
Mr.
on that.
Lawler.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think there's a shortage of notaries. There are probably 8 of them in here tonight. I think
Well,
we're
it says he's
surrounded by
working in
them.
an office full of lawyers.
I'm just talking about in this room tonight. I mean, my point is, I don't think it's onerous to make sure that we have the right people signing things and that they're responsible for it. I mean, that's, I think we need to make sure that that the stuff is notarized. I don't think it's a terrible burden, especially if, when I understand, we have some notaries at the parish that could do the work. I see notary signs all over the parish. You can't drive 20 feet. I mean, geez, it's like Gordon McCartan billboards, notary signs.
They all charge, too.
Well, I don't think it's a tremendous amount that they charge.
it's not a requirement of anybody's job to do it for free.
Hey, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They all charge.
I don't do it for free.
Mr. Dawson, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that in the meeting, President Matassa did say that if they needed a notary stamp, that, and as Mr. Cluett said, that the parish will look at providing that since we have notaries. I mean, that's one thing he did say, because that discussion was had.
And I think that would work. If people are, if the $15 is going to prohibit them from, or 25, whatever it may be, from getting it notarized, and we have people in the parish that can do it, that's great. Sometimes it's more convenient for them to just go somewhere and get it done, whether it be a Schregman's, we don't have a Schregman's anymore, but, I mean, there are a zillion other places that it can be done. It's not an onerous act to have to go get something notarized. I just think that's crazy. And you shouldn't make people do it for free.
I'm not
Communist.
going to comment.
Well, I guess
Mr.
we have enough
Johnson.
attorneys that can
I don't do
explain
it for free.
what the act under private signature.
Was-
My understanding is that they can sign it in front of us, and then we go to a notary, and we can have it look at, and they can notarize.
Mr. Johnson.
So are we notarizing just signatures on the paper, or are we notarizing that they followed the rules of the ordinance and so forth? What are we notarizing? Because I know if I'm sitting in an office and you bring me a piece of paper saying that I'm gonna notarize something, work that I haven't put my eyes on, and I'm verifying something, I ain't notarizing it.
Well, the
Not that I'm a
note-
notary, but I know my license is hanging off of that, right?
Yeah. If I could get, John, can you turn on the overhead projector, please? Thanks. It's basically, it's Department of Planning and Development, notice of completion affidavit, level grading and fill permit. And basically, we're asking them to fill out this form that says they've conducted the work according to what their application said that they would do.
So what's the purpose of the notarize?
We want to keep track of this. We want to be able to say, if they sell the property to someone else and that someone else comes in later on and says that we don't have anything, we can have an affidavit here that says that they in fact did come in at an earlier date, the previous owner. I mean, we're trying to track this thing 3, 4, 10 years down the road.
I understand that, but I mean, what is a notary, I mean, I'm playing ignorant here, what does a notary guarantee about that as opposed to just having this on file?
Well, somebody can come back and say, you know, we never signed it.
You're an attorney, how about?
I mean, if you, I don't know, I'm just questioning.
Yeah,
I'm-
we
you-
do
how
it
about you
with-
take this
we do
one
it with family petition, we do it with a lot of things that we want to track and we want to keep it legal.
Mr.
The
Dawson,
people
I
put a lot of
believe Mr.
pressure
Turner
on
has
us
the
to
answer
try
to your
to see
question.
about
Mr.
controlling the field.
Mr. Turner, another lawyer, has
This is a lawyer answer.
No, I guess the answer being the question, the notary itself is not saying that everything in the document is true. He's just saying, or he or she is just saying that
You signed it.
they saw the person sign the document.
Right.
The person who's actually signing the document is verifying that the content of the document is true.
Okay, that's what I was kind of nervous about that, if they were saying that they're guaranteeing that the work was done according to the document, that's a whole nother matter. Okay.
Okay, further discussion, questions, do we have any objections?
With further discussion,
More discussion?
yes, sir.
Mr. Cluott?
We have somebody that stepped out that's going to step back in, so.
Oh.
Jerome,
Yes, sir.
just kind of, overall view of this, what, you feel like I know a lot of work that y'all put a lot of work into it, and you heard everybody speaking. We've got people that give us call in all of our districts about, what's this guy doing over there? He's filling up, where all them dump trucks going?
Right.
Things like that. So we need to be able to at least monitor.
Well,
And
and
I'm
that-
not saying control, because I believe in land rights, okay?
Right.
But at least monitor and have some rules
Right.
and setting forth. This, I just want to let everybody know that we expanded last night, and everybody except Mr. Joseph, who's not on East Central Drainage, that we talked about what Ascension Parish is continually doing and continually trying to help and continually trying to work with floodplain management and trying to help people. And this is something that just adds to it, that we have some accountability for it. Not everybody's gonna agree to it, but it's a start. And look, this body can change any part of it at any time that they want to, just like anything else. With that, I thank you, sir, for my time.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion, any further questions, any objections? Hearing none. Motion's adopted.
Thank you.
Item number 9, monthly contract report. Sandra.
Good evening. You have each before you a list of all the contracts that we entered into in the month of September. Do y'all have any questions about any?
Mr. Satterley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Sandra. On the new EAD, I think it's page 204 in our packets, the entries there, the first 7 anyway, it extends on to page 3. Each of them have the statement that this is one of 14 companies that share $1 million in the budget per task order, and it stops at 7. I'm curious, where is 8 to 14?
These were only 7 that I got in for September. I have one more left to get, so they'll be on the next month's report.
So we'll get 8 to 14 eventually.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Okay, finance reports, revenue and expenditure report, Amanda.
Good evening. Before you are the financial reports for the month of August 2019, which reflects 66% of the year. The first 2 pages of the report are your major funds, which are general fund, sales and use tax district number 1, sales and use tax district number 2, East Ascension drainage, and road and bridge. The first column of the report shows you the actual year-to-date as of August 2018. You can see it compares it to the actual year-to-date for 2019. The next column shows you any encumbrances and then the budget, the remaining balance, and the percent of the budget. Your general fund is at 79% for revenues and 70% for expenditures. Sales tax number 1, your revenues are at 77%. Your expenditures are at 77%. Sales tax number 2, revenues are at 75%. Expenditures are at 75%. East Ascension drainage on page 2, your revenues are at 75%. Your expenditures are at 106%. Road and bridge, your revenues are at 63%, and expenditures are at 68%. The report also shows you the projected fund balance for each one of those funds. The next page is the enterprise funds for the parish, and that includes Lamar Dixon, Parish Utilities, ACUD number 2, and ACUD number 1. It shows the same information as the major funds. Lamar Dixon's revenues at 50%, expenditures are at 60%. Parish Utilities of Ascension, revenues are at 64%, expenditures at 106%. ACUD number 2, your revenues are at 62%, your expenditures are at 79%. ACUD number 1, your revenues are at 62%, your expenditures are at 90%. The next page are your major funds, major capital funds, which consist of road and bridge construction, East Ascension major, drainage construction, courthouse construction, and Move Ascension. Your revenues are at 10% for road and bridge construction, expenditures are at 71%. East Ascension drainage revenues are at 74%, expenditures are at 22%. Courthouse revenues are at 4,865%, expenditures are at 257%. Move Ascension revenues at 109%, expenditures at 22%. The next page of the report is your cash and investment position as of August 2019, and it compares it to August 31st of 2018. Your total cash and investments as of August of 19 is $282,553,766. That money restricted is $252,758,648, and $29,795,118 is unrestricted. Compared to 2018, your total cash and investments was $259,747,236. Of that, restricted was $228,784,916, and unrestricted was 30,962,319. Below those numbers just gives you a list of breaks out what makes up the restricted amount and what funds make up the unrestricted funds. And that is the end of the report. If y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Questions for Amanda? Mr. Kluart.
Yeah, on that same page, on the general fund restricted juvenile, you got 3.66 million.
Right, that is the juvenile tax. That's what's built up after you collect the revenues from the ad valorem and then subtract out the expenses, and that's what's built up since that started.
That's the 1 mil, yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Juveniles hadn't been a subject in front of us for a while, so.
You had to talk about it.
Keep trying to move on it. Thank you.
So I know this is not your deal, Amanda, but can somebody tell me what is like our average rate of return on this surpluses that we have? We have, what, 250 million about? Did I throw you? It doesn't have to be precise.
I would say anywhere from 1.75 to 2%. It's going down a little bit. Things we're looking at right now, 2.5 years out, is about 1.4, 1.3, but we had gotten over 2%.
Okay.
And we stagger our investments
Something
every
around,
month.
something a little less than 2% is what we
Yes.
get. So we buy short-term bonds, is that?
We invest out pretty much 2.5 to 3 years, and we
Uh-huh.
stagger everything to come due as if we happen to need it. But based on the way our current revenues and expenses are running, we just keep reinvesting our money.
Then we do this in concert with our CPA and the auditors, is that correct? They
Yes,
watch over that
they're aware
and
of
make.
what we do,
Yeah.
yes.
They make sure
And we
what
have an investment policy,
Yeah.
so correct.
Thank you,
We can only invest in certain things.
thank you. Okay, further questions, any further questions? Thank you. Okay, item number 11, bid items, to accept the lowest responsive bid as follows. Ms. Shivers.
On September 17, 2019, the purchasing department received one bid for Scott 3M self-contained breathing apparatus. After review, the Fire District Number 3 recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by Ferrera REV Group and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this equipment.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Councilwoman Casso, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any discussion, any objections? Motion is adopted.
On September
One bidder.
17, 2019, the purchasing department received two bids for the West Bank Courthouse stabilization. After review, the Ascension Parish Project Manager recommends accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by Shake Snyder Restoration
Motion
and
to approve.
Construction.
Motion.
Got a motion by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Kluart. Any discussion, questions, opposition? Motion's adopted. Item C.
On September 26, 2019, the purchasing department received five bids for polyvinyl chloride PVC sewer drainage pipe. After review, the purchasing department and DPW recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by Kedco LLC and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this material.
Motion.
Got a motion by Councilwoman Casso, a second by Councilman Kluart. Any discussion, any opposition? Item number 12.
Move.
Motion, second to adjourn, no opposition.
10 minutes, Mr.
Meeting